Hello, this is Akiro, and today our group is going to be looking at the effects of climate change on urban rat populations. So, starting off with an introduction to urban rats, obviously everyone knows what rats are, right? They carry diseases and they're just generally very annoying to deal with. And especially in cities, there tend to be a lot of rats, so governments end up spending a big amount of money to attempt to control these rat populations. And urban cities are home to these two main species of rats, and because there's so many of them and they're able to just get everywhere and hide, it's very difficult to scientifically track all of the rats in a city. So instead, what we do is we can use a proxy, and this helps us better estimate how many rats there are in a city over a given period of time.
So using public sightings as a proxy, scientists were able to discover that generally rat populations are increasing in these major cities. So if we look at Washington, San Fran, Tokyo, New York, etc., we can see major increases of the rat population over the 7 to 17 years. But then also we see that Tokyo, Louisville, and New Orleans experience a decrease in rat populations over the 7 to 17 year period. There's also Dallas and St. Louis, which saw no major change. There's still some change, but isn't too major that we should look into. Either way, we need to look at why these increases are happening.
So why is this happening? Why are urban environments seeing an increase in their rat populations over the past 10 or so years? In the same study that measured the trends in rat populations of these cities, they also considered the factors that could have contributed to these increases. These factors being long-term temperature increases, vegetation land coverage, population density, GDP, and the mean or average minimum temperature of these cities. Each of these factors being specific to the city that was being studied. As you can see on the bar graph on the right, the most significant factors were the temperature increase, the vegetation coverage, and the population density, while the GDP and minimum temperatures did not play a significant role in the population increases. As we know, climate change and global warming has been a major issue in the past several decades. Cities are subject to an even greater effect of global warming due to what is known as the urban heat island effect. Cities often experience higher temperatures than non-urban environments, as trees and other CO2-absorbing vegetation are replaced with heat-absorbing materials such as buildings and roads. So not only is the temperature of the globe increasing, but cities are also trapping more heat as a result of this temperature increase. Due to the increase in cities' temperatures, rat populations saw a lower winter mortality rate, as less extreme and shorter duration winters meant less rats are dying in the cold or harsh conditions. Also, the breeding periods of rats were increased, as rats typically breed in warmer conditions, so more rats are being born every year, contributing to population increase. Also, the period of above-ground activity increased, as there is less of a reason to burrow if the temperatures are not severely cold, which contributes to more sightings by civilians. So urban rats flourish in the warmer weather, and global warming is providing these ideal conditions for the rat populations. On the right, there is a graph that compares the temperature increase to the increase in rat populations. Each circle on the graph represents a city, and the color of the circle represents the temperature change, with the reds and dark oranges having a higher temperature increase. As indicated by the black trend line, cities with greater temperature increase also experience greater rat population increase. Another factor the graph considers is population density, with larger circles indicating higher population density. This factor is not as direct of a correlation with rat population increase as temperature increases, but still plays a key role. Two more significant factors were vegetation or green land cover and the population density of the cities. Cities with less vegetation saw a greater increase in rat populations. This is because natural rat habitats are being destroyed and instead replaced by cities, forcing them to live in the streets, sewers, and people's homes and businesses. Also, cities with less green land are considered more urbanized, meaning more food scraps and waste are thrown into the streets, providing rats with an easy, almost infinite food supply. On the right is a similar graph as the one on the previous slide that demonstrates this trend. Less vegetation coverage correlates directly with a greater increase in rat populations. With regards to population density, to put it simply, more people in less space means more waste for rats to feed off of. In addition, a more densely populated city correlates with more urbanization, meaning a greater urban heat island effect and less vegetation. So not only does population density have its own causes of rat increase, it also heavily contributes to the first two factors.
So after we seen the impacts of global warming and urbanization on these rat populations and why they are more notable, more obvious to be seen because of them having to live in other areas. If we look to the future, we can actually see that global temperatures are going to continue to increase and urbanization will also increase, which means there will be less green areas in cities where these mice can reside in. By restricting their population to urban areas, they have to live elsewhere, like in our sewers and houses, as mentioned before. So this means that rat populations will continue to increase in cities at alarming rates because they need other places to live. It's also just more beneficial for them to be in these cities with a lot of human litter, human trash that can be seen where they can rummage through and feed their young and themselves.
So what's the impact on wildlife? Well, rats have many predators. So as the population of rats increases, the populations of these predators is also likely to increase as their food source becomes more available. This is also likely to disrupt their natural balance of the ecosystems, as a new equilibrium is going to have to be achieved. Also, rats that are carrying diseases or have poison control within their systems is also likely to affect these predators, as the poison control or the diseases could end up in the predators' systems and potentially even end up killing them. So what's the impact on humans? Well, generally, rats are considered unpleasant to live with. And also, with rats usually being a catalyst for diseases, it's likely to spread a lot of more diseases to humans as well. In addition, the costs of combating these populations is also likely to increase as there's going to be more of a population to combat against. In New York City, for example, a rat czar was hired to fight what they called a war on rats. Finally, plastic trash bags are being replaced with sealed containers in an attempt to limit the amount of food that rats are getting from human waste. And this is the bibliography of all the sources that we used to create this presentation. Thank you for watching.